Hello Year 5, it's me again. Hope you're all keeping well. I'm feeling much more myself today with my lovely whiteboard back, even though there's not very much room for it in my flat here, but there we go. It is Wednesday and I'm going to be reading you the next chapter of The Breadwinner. It's so lovely to see that so many of you are actually viewing this online, so please keep going with that. So today, chapter 7. There are only 15 chapters in this book in all, so we are getting our way through it, and I'll just begin. The next morning, after breakfast, Pavana was back on the street. "Take your father's writing things and his blanket and go to the market," Mother told her. "Maybe you can earn some money. You've been watching your father all this time. Just do what he did." Pavana liked the idea. Yesterday's shopping had gone well. If she could earn money, she might never have to do housework again. The boy disguise had worked once. Why shouldn't it work again? As she walked through the marketplace, her head felt light without the weight of her hair or chador. She could feel the sun on her face, and the light breeze floating down from the mountains made the air fresh and fine. Her father's shoulder bag was slung across her chest. It bumped against her legs. Inside were father's pens and writing paper, and a few items she would try to sell, including her fancy shalvar kameez. Under her arm, Pavana carried the blanket she would sit on. She chose the same spot where she had gone with her father. It was next to a wall. On the other side of the wall was a house. The wall hid most of it from view. There was a window above the wall, but it had been painted black in obedience to the Taliban decree. "If we're at the same place every day, people will get to know we are here, and they will remember us when they need something read or written," Father used to say. Pavana liked that he said "we," as if she was part of his business. The spot was close to home too. There were busier places in the market, but they took longer to get to, and Pavana wasn't sure she knew the way. "If anyone asks who you are, say you are father's nephew Kasim," Mother said. They had gone over and over the story until Pavana knew it cold. "Say father is ill, and you have come to stay with the family until he is well again." It was safer to say father was ill than to tell people he'd been arrested. No one wanted to look like an enemy of the government. "Will anyone hire me to read for them?" Pavana asked. "I'm only 11. "You still have more education than most people in Afghanistan," Mother said. "However, if they don't hire you, we'll think of something else." Pavana spread her blanket on the hard clay of the market, arranged her goods for sale to one side, as father had done, and spread her pens and writing paper out in front of her. Then she sat down and waited for customers. The first hour went by with no one stopping. Men would walk by, look down at her, and keep walking. She wished she had a chador to hide. She was certain at any moment someone would stop, point, and yell at her, "Girl!" The word would ring out through the market like a curse, and everyone would stop what they were doing. Staying put that first hour was one of the hardest things she had ever done. She was looking the other way when someone stopped. She felt the shadow before she saw it, as the man moved between her and the sun. Turning her head, she saw the dark turban that was the uniform of the Taliban. A rifle was slung across his chest, as casually as her father's shoulder bag had been slung across hers. Pavana began to tremble. "Are you a letter reader?" he asked in Pashto. Pavana tried to answer, but she couldn't find her voice. Instead, she nodded. "Speak up, boy. A letter reader who has no voice is no good to me." Pavana took a deep breath. "I am a letter reader," she said in Pashto, in a voice that she hoped was loud enough. "I can read and write in Dari and Pashto." If this was a customer, she hoped her Pashto would be good enough. The Talib kept looking down at her. Then he put his hand inside his vest. Keeping his eyes on Pavana, he drew something out of his vest pocket. Pavana was about to squish her eyes shut and wait to be shot when she saw that the Talib had taken out a letter. He sat down beside her on the blanket. "Read this," he said. Pavana took the envelope from him. The stamp was from Germany. She read the outside. "This is addressed to Fatima Azima." "That was my wife," the Talib said. The letter was very old. Pavana took it out of the envelope and unfolded it. The creases were embedded in the paper. "Dear niece," Pavana read, "I am sorry I'm not able to be with you at the time of your wedding, but I hope this letter will get to you in time. It is good to be in Germany, away from all the fighting. In my mind, though, I never really leave Afghanistan. My thoughts are always turned to our country, to the family and friends I will probably never see again. On this day of your marriage, I send you my very best wishes for your future. Your father, my brother, is a good man, and he will have chosen a good man to be your husband. You may find it hard at first to be away from your family, but you will have a new family. Soon you will begin to feel you belong there. I hope you will be happy, that you will be blessed with many children, and that you will live to see your sons have sons. Once you leave Pakistan and return to Afghanistan with your new husband, I will likely lose track of you. Please keep my letter with you and do not forget me, for I will not forget you. Your loving aunt, Shoila." Pavana stopped reading. The Talib was silent beside her. "Would you like me to read it again?" He shook his head and held out his hand for the letter. Pavana folded it and gave it back to him. His hands trembled as he put the letter back in the envelope. She saw a tear fall from his eye. It rolled down his cheek until it landed in his beard. "My wife is dead," he said. "This was among her belongings. I wanted to know what it said." He sat quietly for a few moments, holding the letter. "Would you like me to write a reply?" Pavana asked, as she had heard her father do. The Talib sighed, then he shook his head. "How much do I owe you?" "Pay whatever you like," Pavana said. Her father had also said that. The Talib took some money out of his pocket and gave it to her. Without another word, he got up off the blanket and went away. Pavana took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Up until then, she had seen Talibs only as men who beat women and arrested her father. Could they have feelings of sorrow like other human beings? Pavana found it all very confusing. Soon she had another customer, someone who wanted to buy something rather than have something read. All day long, though, her thoughts kept floating back to the Talib who missed his wife. She had only one other customer before she went home for lunch. A man who had been walking back and forth in front of her blanket finally stopped to talk for her. "How much do you want for that?" he asked, pointing at the beautiful shalva kameez. Mother hadn't told her what price to ask. Pavana tried to remember how her mother used to bargain with vendors in the market when she was able to do the shopping. She would argue the vendor down from whatever price he named first. "They expect you to bargain," she explained. So they began with a price so high only a fool would pay. Pavana thought quickly. She pictured her aunt in Mizar working hard to do all the embroidery on the dress and around the cuffs of the trousers. She thought of how pretty she felt when she wore it and how much she hated giving it up. She named a price. The customer shook his head and made a counter-offer, a much lower price. Pavana pointed out the detailed designs of the needlework, then named a price slightly lower than her first one. The customer hesitated but didn't leave. After a few more prices back and forth, they agreed on an amount. It was good to make a sale, to have more money to stuff away in a little pocket inside of her shirt. It felt so good that she almost felt no regret as she watched the vibrant red cloth flutter in the breeze as it was carried away into the crowded labyrinth of the market, never to be seen again. Pavana stayed on the blanket for another couple of hours until she realised she had to go to the bathroom. There was nowhere for her to go in the market, so she had to pack up and go home. She went through many of the same motions she went through when she was with father, packing up the supplies in the shoulder bag, shaking the dust out of the blanket. It made her miss father. "Father, come back to us," she whispered. Looking up at the sky, the sun was shining. How could the sun be shining when her father was in jail? Something caught her eye, a flicker of movement. She thought it came from the blacked-out window, but how could it? Pavana decided she was imagining things. She folded the blanket and tucked it under her arm. She felt the money she earned, tuckly saved in her pocket. Feeling proud of herself, she ran all the way home. And that's the end of chapter 7. Don't forget to look at your home learning template for today to see what your task is, and I will see you tomorrow for another chapter.